Hey everyone, welcome to the very first Canadian News Summaries. Big thanks to Quincy and the research team, they're awesome.
Yeah, they really outdid themselves.
I'm Mike and I'm here with Jane,
Hey, everyone.
our expert. Today we're going to be talking about Pierre Poilievre's housing plan.
It's a hot topic.
It really is. There's been a lot of talk about it.
Yeah.
Poilievre's plan. Well, he's proposing to cut the 5% GST on new homes, but only for homes under $1 million.
Wow.
So that's, for a lot of home buyers, that would be a big help.
Big help, yeah.
He also wants to get rid of the Housing Accelerator Fund, which is $4.4 billion.
Okay.
And then the Housing Infrastructure Fund, another $5 billion.
So that's a lot of money.
It is, yeah. And his argument is that by cutting these programs, we'll actually save money in the long run.
How so?
He's saying less bureaucracy, more economic activity. Is that really realistic?
Well, it's a bold claim, that's for sure.
It is, yeah.
But some housing experts actually like this approach, surprisingly. Yeah, and even the Ontario government is thinking about maybe matching the GST cut if it actually happens.
Wow. So he's got some support.
He does. I think he's really tapping into this feeling that the liberal programs, they're just not working.
Yeah, I've heard that before, that they're too bureaucratic, not efficient.
Exactly.
But of course, Housing Minister Sean Fraser is not happy about this.
Well, yeah, you'd expect him to push back.
Of course.
He's defending his programs, and, his arguments, they're worth thinking about.
Oh, yeah.
He says the Housing Accelerator Fund, it's already helped make a lot of agreements with municipalities, like rezoning to allow for more housing and faster permitting processes, all to increase supply.
And that's important.
Very important. And then there's the Housing Infrastructure Fund, which he says is essential for, infrastructure.
Right, the basics.
Yeah, things like sewer systems, water systems for all these new development, stuff we often forget about.
That's true. We don't always think about that.
But it's crucial.
It is. And taking that money away, it could cause problems later on.
Exactly.
I think Fraser's also implying that Poilievre's plan would mostly benefit, wealthy homeowners and investors.
Right.
Not the people who are actually struggling to find a place to live.
That's a really important point. Who benefits from these kinds of tax cuts? And it actually brings us to another interesting thing. The current rebate program for new homes under $450,000.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that.
And it seems like experts are divided on whether it's even effective anymore.
Really? So what's the problem with it? Is it just not enough money anymore, or is there something else going on?
Well, there are a few things. Some experts say that because of inflation, the rebate just doesn't go as far as it used to.
Makes sense.
They say it needs to be adjusted. Others are saying, look, in big cities like Toronto, you basically never see new homes for that price anyway.
That's true.
So it ends up being useless for a lot of potential buyers.
So it's like these programs are just temporary fixes. They don't really solve the root of the problem.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah. But then again, are Poilievre's proposals really that different? Let's take a closer look at that. What are the potential pros and cons of his tax cut idea?
Well, on the positive side, it could help people looking to buy new condos in Toronto or even mid-sized homes a bit further out.
Yeah.
And with the housing market slowing down, it could actually be good for construction activity.
Right, get things moving.
Exactly. But there are definitely some concerns, too, especially after what Fraser said.
Like what?
A lot of people are criticizing Poilievre's plan because it focuses so much on helping people buy homes.
Okay.
But it kind of ignores renters and people with lower incomes.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, they're the ones facing the biggest challenges right now.
For sure.
With the housing market the way it is.
Yeah, it's a tough situation.
It is. Yeah, it's a big concern for sure.
It is, yeah. Focusing only on homeownership.
Right.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle, but we're missing pieces.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure any housing policy, whether it's Poilievre's or someone else's, actually helps everyone? It can't just be homeowners versus renters.
Exactly.
It has to work for all Canadians.
It really does. And that kind of brings up another point you hear a lot about these days. Supply side versus demand side policies.
Okay, now those terms, I'm not super familiar with them.
Okay, sure.
Can you maybe explain that a bit for me and for our listeners who might be wondering too?
Absolutely. So basically, think of it this way. Supply side policies.
Okay.
They're all about increasing the number of homes available.
Okay.
So things like streamlining those permitting processes we talked about,
Right.
making more land available for development, incentivizing construction, all that falls under supply side.
Okay, so more houses.
Exactly, more houses. Then you have demand side policies.
Okay.
Those are focused on making housing more affordable for people.
Oh,
Things like rent control, tax credits for first-time buyers,
Right.
programs that help low-income families access housing, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. So Poilievre's plan with tax cuts and boosting construction, that would be mostly supply side then.
You got it. And that's where some of the criticism comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Critics are saying, just building more houses without tackling the affordability problem.
Right.
It might not be enough.
Yeah.
They say it could even lead to a situation where, yeah, we have more housing units, but they're still too expensive for a lot of people.
Right, like having a store full of amazing clothes, but you can't afford any of them.
Exactly. It's complicated. There's no easy answer.
For sure.
But one thing's for sure, any solution has to be comprehensive.
Right.
And think about the long term, not just the short term.
Right.
You can't just focus on one side, whether it's supply or demand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might create new problems down the road.
So we need a balanced approach.
Yeah.
Something that tackles both supply and demand.
Exactly.
Are there any examples of policies or approaches that have actually worked?
Yeah, actually, there are some interesting examples from other countries that we can learn from.
Oh, yeah.
Like Vienna, Austria. They have a really successful history of social housing program that have helped keep housing affordable for a lot of people.
Wow.
They've invested a lot in building and maintaining a bunch of publicly owned housing, which helps stabilize the market and gives people with different income levels more options.
So public investment in housing can actually be a good thing.
Right. It's not always a bad thing.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like those solutions are just dismissed without even considering them.
Definitely. There are different views on how much the government should be involved in the housing market.
Yeah, for sure.
But places like Vienna show that public investment can play a big role in making housing more affordable and accessible.
Interesting. Sounds like we need to be open to different ideas, not be afraid to challenge the way we've always done things.
Absolutely.
Because the old solutions might not work anymore.
Exactly.
So what are your final thoughts on all this, Jane?
Well, I think the big takeaway here is that there's no magic solution to the housing crisis.
Right.
It's going to take a multifaceted approach and collaboration from everyone, the government, the private sector, community organizations.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
It is. We need to be willing to experiment, learn from what doesn't work, and adapt our strategies
Makes sense.
based on what does work.
Yeah, and we have to involve the people who are most affected by this crisis.
Yes, absolutely.
Renters, low-income families, marginalized communities. We need to hear from them.
They're the ones who know what the real challenges are.
Right, and they might have some solutions too.
Exactly. Ignoring their input would be a huge mistake.
This has been a really great conversation, Jane. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us.
My pleasure, Mike. It's a topic I care a lot about.
And to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us for this first episode of Canadian News Summaries.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
We hope you found it informative and got you thinking.
We hope so.
And keep the conversation going. Share your thoughts, ideas, experiences with us on social media.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
You know, it's funny how we started with Poilievre's plan,
Yeah.
but we ended up talking about the whole housing crisis in Canada.
It really broadened out, huh? And that's what we want to do with this show, get people thinking about the big issues.
For sure, explore all the sides, all the different opinions, and maybe find some solutions along the way.
And remember, you, our listeners, you're part of this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want to hear your thoughts. What's it like in your community? What challenges are you facing? What do you think would actually help?
We believe that when people are informed,
Right.
they can make a difference.
Exactly. So keep the conversation going. Come chat with us on social media. We're always listening.
Always.
Oh, and before we go, one last thought to chew on.
Okay.
We talked about supply and demand, but is there something else we're missing here? Some bigger problem, maybe something systemic that we need to fix before we can really solve this housing crisis?
That's a great question to leave everyone with.
It is a lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this episode. Huge thanks to Quincy and the research team. You guys are amazing.
Big thanks to them.
And to everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in to Canadian News Summaries.
We had a blast.
We did.
And we hope you did too.
If you liked what you heard, make sure to follow, like, and tell your friends about the show.
Yeah, spread the word.
We'll be back soon with more deep dives on the issues that matter to Canadians.
Until then, stay curious and stay engaged.
See you all next time.